Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nicholas Malson. Firstly, I would like to apologize if my voice sounds a bit different. I think I got a sore throat. But do not worry, the voice is not going to sound like this throughout the entire episode. I will explain why in a moment. 10 weeks ago, I have decided to launch my first episode of the podcast that I have called Smile Once Again. And the purpose of this podcast would be to focus on optimistic things or just talk about some nice things that have happened recently. And so far, I have been enjoying doing so. And I think I want to continue doing it. As today is the 10th episode of the podcast, I wanted to do something special, and I have got something for you that I hope you will enjoy. You may have noticed that this episode is much longer than the other ones, and you'll probably understand why. But long story short, I have invited a very special person, and we have spent some time together. He's a really good friend of mine. He's my best friend, and I will introduce to him in a moment as well. Just to let you know a couple of things first. Obviously, this episode and the other episodes are available on multiple platforms. The links will be in the description. If you want to communicate with me or ask any questions, you can do so on YouTube. Either leave a comment, so you will have a chance for this comment to be read out in public, or if you want a more anonymous conversation, send me an email, and my email address is smileonceagainpodcast@gmail.com. Also, what I wanted to say is that there will be some links left in the description, which will be references to what we are going to discuss in this episode. But I would like to let you know that we have not been sponsored by anybody. This is just a personal shout out or just references to the videos or websites that we've been talking about. And the last thing is that the actual interview or the actual session has been recorded on the 9th of December 2021, whilst the current message and the final message are recorded on the 12th of December 2021, and the time is 11:49 a.m. And I wanted to say thank you for your continued support. Thank you to all of you who are listening to my podcast. And I really hope that after this episode, there will be more things to come. And there will be lots of things that I will be able to share with you. And I hope that I will be able to make as many people as possible to smile. Or at least smile once again. With that being said, you're gonna hear a clap, and that clap is simply for me and my guest to synchronize our audio tracks, and I hope you will enjoy. Prepare for the clap on 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think we are all set up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th special episode of Smile Once Again, the podcast where we are focusing on optimistic and positive things. And as the future version of Nicholas Malson has already told you, I am still Nicholas Malson, and I am not on my own today. And it is a great pleasure and an absolute honor to welcome the first and special guest, not just because he's the first guest, but because he is an amazing friend. He is my best friend. Please welcome Michael. Michael, welcome to the show.
Yes, it is a great pleasure, as you say. Hello, everyone, and it's great to be here on this podcast today. I am
Thank
highly
you, thank
honored.
you.
Really, I am highly honored. Thank you, Nick, so much for making me the first guest, and I believe we will have a fantastic discussion today. And I am really glad. Like first and foremost, I would really say that I am really glad that you have this thing going on with the podcast and that you made it consistent. So throughout the 10 weeks already, and this is week 10, if I'm, yeah, if I'm correct, is it?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, it's 10 weeks non-stop. Every Sunday, excuse me. The episodes have been published. So yeah, you're absolutely right, and thank you so much.
It's just yeah, it's just amazing. It's a thing that we were speaking about for quite a long time, and a thing that we you really wanted first and foremost, and the idea that we all supported. So I'm really glad that you have it going on. And I remember
Yeah,
really like back in the day when we were still at school studying and stuff and hanging out in the breaks. We were speaking about all this creative stuff, and back then we were mostly focused about music and some other creative things like video making and gaming stuff, and also like yeah, mostly though music was a concern. Do you remember the first compositions that we actually made?
uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have the actual product of it, or maybe we still do if we dig deeper. But yeah, me and Michael, we have been experimenting with music, and it's been just for jokes and humor ourselves. It wasn't anything serious, but some of the stuff that we made was like absolutely fantastic. Just we really laughed ourselves off,
Mm,
and
it wa-
it was fun.
yeah, it was hilarious. Definitely, it was a really things that we made throughout like one evening or maybe even a couple of hours, and then I remember playing it back. Even I played it back to my classmates and stuff. So yeah, it was definitely, and the thing I cherished the most that we were like only like 14, 15 years old already, but
Maybe
already
even
maybe even younger though. Yeah, maybe even younger.
yeah,
It was about
yeah.
like
That's right.
eighth or ninth form, I think, something like this. So yeah, we
Yeah,
definitely
grade five.
had it
Yeah.
going on really early, uh, and I remember throughout the time I was really sad that at one point we stopped all this, and then I think you remember as well the conversation we had with you one day that we should rejuvenate and restart doing something like this, so rejuvenate the projects and renew something like this, and now I see this project and the things we are doing alongside it also like a quite a fascinating experience, just because we actually got back to creativity, and I cannot be happier about this. So
Yeah, we should definitely spend more time doing this because yeah, I know what you're talking about. We uh, just rejuvenating stuff we've done in the past. It's been good times. But do you actually remember there was one time when at some point when I was at the college and when I came back home, I just had the idea to make a music video for one of the songs that you've made.
of course, man, yeah, of course, I also wanted to talk about this right now pretty much. So this it was a drum and bass composition for, I think it was
Yep.
called Poorly Colored World or Purely Colorful World. We had a debate what is the actual name for it. But the
Yeah,
video turned
yeah.
out quite well, and it also got some views on YouTube. I remember until it was taken down actually because of the channel deletion or something like this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just had a moment when, like, I decided to just start from scratch, and I didn't have the original copy saved, which was a huge shame. I should have kept it with me. But it's just the mistake that hopefully will never happen again. Should we work on something similar? But I truly remember this, and it was a fantastic experience. It truly was.
Yeah, it is. It
Um,
was. I remember also the other compositions like the rock compositions and I think hip hop we were doing, and I
yep.
remember they were just traveling from my computer to storage on my phone. Back then it wasn't even like a smartphone. I think it was like some Nokia stuff. So it was a funny
Yeah,
thing,
like
yeah, to play it back. Crazy times.
yep. Yeah, it was insane, and sometimes it is nice to reminisce about the past, because certainly like lots of people were thinking or talking even about, just thinking about the past and reminiscing about the good old days and such. And I, at first, I wasn't sure if this was a really good idea to do so, because if we just keep reminiscing about the past, we will not have an opportunity to think about the future. But sometimes when you are in the lowest mood, or when you feel like things are just not going well, you can just think about the past, and maybe it will give you some motivation and inspiration, just to compare yourself to like what's been happening before and what's happening now and how much you have grown. And with the experiences from the past, you like if you do it this correctly, you can just keep going forward and bring those good memories to those who will hopefully meet you in the future. So
Of
I mean, I'm
course.
not sure if this makes sense, but hopefully it does.
It really does. I think what you actually call smile once again, when you remember the some good things from the past that make you smile. Actually, the wholesome things, the positive things that you have done in the past, maybe with someone. You remember a special person. You remember the context of this happening. So you remember maybe the emotions that you have experienced throughout this moment, and
Hmm.
yeah, maybe something even associates with it some other better things, like a better case, better happening, something like this. And it is,
Hmm.
and you definitely are right when you are saying that the time goes on forward and it doesn't ever stop and doesn't ever turn around. And I think at the same time, as much as we are sad sometimes about it, we should be as happy about this as well, just because life is not always fun and games, as you usually say, and the world is
Hmm.
not a always ponies and rainbows and stuff, but it's rather a place that sometimes you really need to get through from period to period, and you have to actually be strong and hold yourself together, and that is how you grow as a person, actually. And that is also by keeping your spirit up, is that how you proceed in something. So it's definitely about
Hmm.
keeping yourself in control. And as we spoke, and as you mentioned in a episode 5, I believe, from the comment I made on the video, is about actually building yourself strong on the inside. I believe it's best to say it like this.
Hmm. Yeah, I do remember that comment, and may I once again say that this comment is truly a blessing. It's the words that I believe all people deserve to hear at least once in their lives. And your advice, I do hope that your advice will help not just myself, but also those who are listening to this podcast and specifically to this episode. But yeah, as you have uh, touched the subject of the fifth episode and building the better self, and I've also talked a lot about addictions and bad habits. But do you think that there is such a thing as good habits, and if so, could you perhaps provide any examples?
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about, lately for me even, it's quite a lot about self-helping, self-growing, and seeking inspiration from day to day, seeking a better improvement opportunities from day to day. And by this, I unfortunately cannot say that I'm the most efficient and the most productive person in these types of things, but thank God, and I'm really glad that throughout a couple of years from now, like in the past, throughout couple past years, I've dropped a couple of bad addictions. So
Mm.
back in 2020, so it's 2nd of January 2020. I remember the specific date. I quit smoking on that day, and
All right.
I've never really. I thank God. Really, I think it's a great blessing. I wasn't really eager to have a cigarette from that day. Maybe for a couple of days or for a week, maybe after. But it wasn't really even my my pure will to do it. It was rather a signal, I don't know, came from my mind, came from God, I would love to say, that I should really quit. And I just dropped it. I stayed at home for several days, not going outside, so wasn't eager to purchase any cigarettes, wasn't eager to smoke. And then when I was working productively on a schoolwork, I think. And then when I went outside, had to travel to Denmark. I will also tell about this later on. But I had to travel
Mm,
for my master's, so it was like
mm,
a semester starting. So I really picked up this idea that even I held through like 5 6 days, or I don't remember how many days to that period, to that point of time. But then I really cherished the idea of really quitting this bad habit of smoking, and that is how I really am holding by now. So I had a temptation to smoke maybe for several times throughout this whole time. It wasn't strong,
mm,
thank God. It was just maybe a bad idea. So what if I really touch a cigarette? What if I light up a cigarette and start smoking? But I really was capable of stopping myself up to this date. So I'm really thankful for that. And
mm,
at the same period of time, this is really how you start training your will,
mm,
by telling yourself no, especially to the things that are quite harmful to you, like smoking, for instance, or drinking. As I'm pretty sure you can tell about this later on, but and also gladly you didn't have like a drinking habit, but you just decided to do something, and then you are like really insisting on yourself not doing it, so you're holding yourself back to to not like do some specific bad thing. And
mm,
carrying on and continuing about this topic, I really, from uh, abolishing this my how do you say, um, from abolishing my vulnerability to this bad habit, I really built up a stronger will. So after that, I really started looking at my eating pattern differently. I started eating less junk food. I started drinking less alcohol, even though I am not a heavy drinker, and I think you know it. I'm just like a casual beer person or wine person from time to time, maybe some heavier
of
drinks,
course,
but
yeah.
like socially.
Mm,
Other than that, I really like, yeah, anything that bad comes to my mind, I'm now capable of analyzing it before really falling for it. You know how they say. So yeah, it's all in all, as to answer your question, I think first step to building good habits, and yeah, and proceeding with them is understanding how you break bad habits, understanding how you build up a better will, inner will, so the strength of will, and the ambition to grow, and always remember that the idea of not being capable of something is not really true. Uh, I mean, if you're trying to fly without any wings, maybe it's not it's not a possibility, right? So maybe person is not a bird. That's why they pretty much cannot fly without any additional device or whatever not. But I mean, whenever a person feels that they are capable of, and they are engineering enough to produce some device that helps them, it's a possibility for that. But the thing is that if you decide in your inner mind and soul that you need to do something, or you're capable to do something, or at least you want to do something, that is a good start for whatever process you're going on. And it's best if it's like a better process, obviously. Like I wouldn't encourage anyone to start with a bad habit. Yeah.
of course. Yeah, no, that's really good points you have mentioned there, Michael. And the only thing I might probably add is like, because from my experience as well, and I also had a tendency to drinking alcohol, and there was another habit that I have started fighting recently. I'm not going to say it out loud because it's a little bit more, let's just describe it intimate. I mean, I'm pretty sure you know what's going on during November, so
Of course.
probably I'm just gonna keep it this way. And if any of you who is listening know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So let's just keep it that way. And good news is that I have been successful so far, and I have not been submitted to the temptation. I've been resisting it, and I have never felt better. It honestly, my mind has become much cleaner, and I've regained some focus. And I do hope that if I will carry on this way, I will certainly become the best version of myself. There's actually something that I have found out very recently, actually. Maybe a week or a few weeks ago, I have been, well, not watching, but more listening to some videos or audio recordings. There's this Buddhist monk who lives in Sri Lanka, and he was talking about addictions and temptations and such, and the teachings of Buddha, there's something called the Dhammapada, do talk about like acknowledging the temptations and or the addictions, if we translate it to the more modern jargon or language. If we acknowledge what is going on and we fully understand what and why it is happening, we will have much more opportunities, or at least we will be much stronger to just let it go. The clearer you understand what is happening, the more chances you have to just simply get out of it and just let it not be a part of you anymore. What do you think about it?
I totally agree. I really cannot agree more to think about this, and I think this idea is really a classic already. So it comes from way back, I believe, and it's how people dealt with addictions or, I mean, even routine. If you think about this, like, if you don't really like your job, or at least if it's not a necessity for you to do it, right? Or if anything else happens that you really don't like in your life, just sit back, zoom out, and take a better look at this. And even if somebody was persuading that you should be doing this, or it's how the world works and everybody does this, right? It's if it seems like so odd and wrong to you, maybe it's not the best thing for you, and maybe you should reconsider doing something. And maybe work is a bad example, because work doesn't usually kill you, at least if you're not overworking or I don't know, doing something extreme at your work. Maybe the conditions can be different, right? But especially with bad habits, if you realize at the specific point of time that like, for instance, you're smoking, so you're just putting a cigarette into your mouth to inhale harmful and poisonous smoke inside your lungs, to just have a little kick of it for your mind to relax in 5 minutes. And I think it's really not worth it if you think about like this. Like, even though cigarettes are not that expensive, I mean, they're getting more expensive in Britain, especially. I think they are more expensive
Yes,
than
absolutely,
than
yeah.
in many places around the world. In Latvia, it's not the case, but it's not. It's not. I think it's not really purposeful in terms of one's economic means to buy a pack of cigarettes every day, and just to actually later experience more health problems that will cost even much more. And it's just if and it is even if you just talk about the money and think about other things. Like, for me, even quitting smoking for me actually helped me realize that my body is capable of doing better in sports. I started running. I started going around more with bicycle. I started walking more, and this is really how I understood that if I don't, like, poison my lungs and poison my breathing system, I am really capable of doing things that I was earlier not considering as a action I would take. So This is a
Mm.
definitely a very good advice from the Buddhist monk. I think I saw a couple of videos. I unfortunately do not remember the name of the channel, the name of the person, but you can
Mm.
leave it in the reference if in case you consider that. Other than that, yeah, I really agree to this. It's good to think what about what you are doing and how you are doing it, and that can improve your improve the quality of your life at least.
Yeah, well, if you do remember it, do let me know and perhaps share the links, and I will do my best to make sure that these links are left in the description of the video on YouTube. So I think everyone else can give it a watch as well. So yeah, that's that. I think that will be a good idea. Let's just share good things with everybody, eh? uh, but yeah, it is good to sometimes just to talk about these things because it's kind of gives you the opportunity to cope with the challenge which it is. Um, but there are some situations um, where people are more submissive to these addictions, and I have a suspicion you know which kinds of situations I'm talking about.
Uh, yeah, I think you can elaborate about this more, and we can really like get to another topic right now. Just I wanted to say add a little thing more. It's
Sure.
that really everything. I mean, it can sound really how do you say it can sound really abstract at some point, maybe to someone, right? And even I thought earlier that it is abstract, quite abstract, and not really applicable to a real life context. The thing is that consistency for everybody is key, really, in any process. Being consistent in any process is really a key thing to achieving the result you want, because if you like start little by little and proceed with at least like a very very small tempo with very very small results every little period of time, it's easier to cope with any habit. Like even I think that as you say, the types of situations can be really different, but trying at least like having a small step forward to the thing you want, or the result you want to achieve, right? It's already it helps a lot. It helps a lot in the perspective, and maybe somebody can refer to this as a, well, it's not really a purposeful to say to call it butterfly effect at all points of times, right? At all moments, but sometimes it is like a butterfly effect. A small action provokes a bigger action in perspective. So the smaller thing you do really might really help, at least for you in the future. So this is a
Mm.
valuable thing. But yeah, the contexts are really different, and uh, I will be glad to actually. I will be glad if you could share your own life experience, because you've gone through a lot already by this moment, and I think everybody is really it will be valuable for each of us to hear it, and because it is a really eye-opening experience. It's really a gladly a experience that ended well, but it's definitely a life lesson for us all from different perspectives. So yeah, go ahead and tell us the thing that you're
Yeah,
supposed to tell us. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think it is. I have to agree with you. It will be worth sharing this. It's something that I think I've only talked about openly once. One of the students at the university that I used to study, she actually interviewed me about this for one of her articles, which you probably remember. It's been a long, long time ago. It was shared on Facebook, but it's like probably lost in the depths of the internet. But um, I think I've also mentioned this in a previous episode. Back in the day, I think it was about 6 years ago or so, I was at a point in life where I have lost everything. So I have literally been street homeless. I have lost a place to live. I have lost trust of many people. Obviously, lost a job or any ways of income that I could have, and it was a very difficult time. And I had to rely on the kindness and compassion of others just so I could basically get back on my feet. Um, it happened all of a sudden, and at some point I was just blaming everything surrounding me, but not myself. But being, more mature now and just looking back at how things actually were, I understand that I played a huge part of what has happened to me. So I am taking responsibility for what happened. And basically, I just didn't really care about my future. I have not been treating others as well as I do now. I have lived a kind of parasitic lifestyle. I was not a big fan of telling the truths. I was careless with money, and was careless with what I'm putting in my mouth and such. And eventually, this all caused to me just losing everything: the money, the house, the people who I considered friends. And if you do recognize me and you listen to this, I'm truly sorry for what I was before. And eventually, when I did live in the streets, uh, obviously it was shocking. Just realizing that no, I've got nothing left, and there is nothing for me to lose. And eventually, after sleeping few nights rough, it was a car park where I used to sleep. Um, I think it was like either first or second floor. It was slightly warmer than sleeping on the ground floor or the top floor. Um, I just thought that no, this is the end for me. Like I could get no help, and at some point I was on my way to the bridge. I want to end it all. Just want to commit. Just want to jump off. But thankfully, I remembered a phone call. Sorry, not a phone call, but a phone number of Samaritans in the UK. By the way, if you are struggling, 116123, this is the phone number you should call, definitely. Like right now, pause the podcast and call them right now. Um, I called that number and I said, I can't live like this anymore, I give up. And the person on the other line, he has persuaded me to live. And I was standing on the bridge, and uh, I didn't want to jump after after the time that this person has spent to just convince me that life is worth living. And he gave me an advice of where to go, who to ask help for, and I just went straight there and started basically getting myself back on the feet. And believe it or not, in like 2 or 3 weeks' time, it was still rough life. At least I was able to have some basic support, like some money and some food. And I was just waiting until I could get housed. And fortunately, 3 weeks later, someone said, "Yeah, we would like you to become our tenant. Please come in and let's discuss everything." I got to the place. They gave me some paperwork. I need to sign some papers, the usual legal stuff. And I got the keys. And from that day, I just started like getting myself into a better position. Like just been working hard, did lots of jobs, um, been moving from place to place. And yeah, just trying to get some stability. And now, about 5 or 6 years later, I can safely say that I am now back on my feet. And it's all thanks to that one call. And even those small things, they can lead to such great consequences, such great conclusions that, yeah, that's those few little words of encouragement and, motivation. It can get a person like myself who just completely given up on life to where I am now. A person who has a stable place to live, a good income, a job that I love, amazing friends, to rely on, and yeah, just hope for the better future. And I know I probably haven't said this properly before, Michael, but I do want to say thank you for, just being in my mind and in my heart in those difficult times. And I wish I was not stupid enough. Uh, I just wish I could simply give you a call and just say sorry for everything I may have done, and just say that, yeah, I'm in trouble. Hopefully you understand my position back there. I didn't want to, I didn't want to be the burden for everyone else. I just wanted to just go through this journey and become the better self. So that's pretty much my story.
Hmm. And it's really magnificent that even now, even this was like way back, and I've heard this a couple of times already. I was the one to actually share this on Facebook also, and bring elaborate on this a little for other people as well. But it's still shocking. So yeah, and I'm really glad, thank God, that you've made it through. And I don't think you shall say sorry just because it was a crucial moment for you, because everybody else, the friends, everybody from here back home in Latvia, we always support you. And the thing is that, of course, the things could have gone different, right? So you could have called us, and maybe we could have, me and other people, we could have told you better things to actually cherish better life moments. But the thing is that sometimes when you're in the critical state of mind, it's best that you seek for action on the spot, pretty much something very straightforward. And I'm really glad that you made this phone call. I was actually sure that these were people that you met at that point of time, so it wasn't even the point of a phone call, but you just have met these people on the street and you told them the story. But the phone call seems very reasonable for this point of thing, the thing. So that point of time. And man, I'm really glad, brother, I'm really glad that you're here today. And it's a great blessing for every one of us. It's the story, the thing you went through, has taught everybody a lesson to actually stay humbler, to yeah, be always yeah, to be always safe, to keep track of what's on your mind, to actually cherish and care for the things you are in your possession, you have in your possession. The Yeah, to actually be thankful for the food, for the roof over your head, and for warmth in your house, and whatever not. And this is definitely a groundbreaking, eye-opening experience. And yeah, and you should definitely not be sorry for. And I'm also like to drop a brief comment maybe for somebody that is not as well informed about yourself as me. I don't think you were living that wrong off. I mean, you had, like, if you see this as a like a rebound from the life you were living, I wouldn't say so, because you were also trying to live a better life. And always, I don't remember that you were really slacking off, because since you got to the UK, I don't think life was easy for you. So it was the matter maybe of the life conditions getting all together in a very wrong phase and wrong, how you say, state, and that attacked you at one point. But I'm really glad and thank God that you withstood it. So it's a great blessing for everyone here to be here with you, and for you to be speaking of it. This is definitely a valuable thing for everyone to hear, I think. Yeah.
Thanks. It really means a lot to me, Michael. Thank you. And I think what I want to do at some point as well is just try and share my story with as many people as possible, because, like, I wouldn't wish the experience I had even to my worst enemy, because the life that I have lived is just, like, not worth it. Because yes, of course, like, you feel I have survived, which is a good thing. But just the moment of, like, losing everything and just living through, like, the actual hell on earth. like it breaks you. It certainly does break you, and but it depends on how you respond to this, and how are you taking this as a lesson. But yeah, I hope those who listen to this podcast, if you are struggling, stay strong. Okay, you are a good person. You can do this. You can go through this. And remember the number that I have mentioned. If you are in the UK and if things are way too bad for you, 116 123. Please call them now. But yeah, I appreciate your time with this, Michael, and I appreciate you asking this. But let's um, let's switch on to something more, optimistic, because you know it is always good to just learn lessons from the past like this, but it is not worth spending too much time in the darkness.
Of course.
Um, yeah, but let's return to the good habits for a moment, because I know and you know that you have got used to doing something recently that I'm very, very well envious of. But like the term white envy, basically being envious but not in a harmful way. And I think you know what I'm talking about. It is traveling, and I have mentioned traveling before in one of my episodes, but because of my lack of experience, especially recently, I couldn't tell much. So, is there by any chance anything that you would like to share with us?
Of course, yeah. I mean, as you introduce it, as I'm used to it, it's very pleasant to hear this, and I think I kind of got used to it this year. But I've been interested in traveling for a while already. I think so. It started all for me like the life-changing travel, or maybe eye-opening travel, maybe not so life-changing, but rather, yeah. Something that I really remember was when I started traveling on my own, and this was by year 2000 and hmm, I think it was the year 2016 that I had conducted my first like very personal trip. I went to London, so it was a great destination to kick off this. All in all, like a trip that you have to plan on your own, that you have to conduct on your own. Like I was also encouraged by my parents a lot to do this, and they supported me with like money for this. So it was a gift for my birthday, I think, and yeah, and I really cherished it, and I thanked them a lot. And I really went, and then I started really trying to. I remember having no mobile data for England at that specific point, so my phone plan wasn't really allowing it. So I think I was trying to navigate with Wi-Fi when it was available, and then I really was handed a London tube map and London attraction map, which I had to also actually like look through when I was like staying at the place I stayed. Was actually at my cousin's place, so I'm also glad that they are living there with their family. So I was glad to pay them a visit as well. So, but actually like getting trying to understand everything on your own, asking questions, meeting people, and yeah, conducting this whole trip, communicating everything, made like a positive change in me. And I've been traveling before. I've been traveling since a very young age. I think my first travels were like at age 4 or 5. I was
Mm.
going with my mother to Turkey. I think then I remember we visited Tunisia and Greece as well. Um, After that, I remember traveling around Europe. We had like several family vacations in Germany, and then we went also like to a small European trip, so around Germany and then Denmark and Sweden. Also, we've been to Norway. All throughout the Norway, it's a great thing to. It was a great thing to see. There's a naturally rich regions where you can see mountains, clean water, and stuff. But yeah, really, I understood in my young years that I'm really a person that likes to explore things on their own. So I started individual traveling, as I mentioned before, maybe in 2016, and then since that time I really had a great couple of trips. I actually revisited London next year. I also like going on a purposeful travels, for instance, like it's not really, maybe it's not just a travel when you look at it like this, but I've been to exchange studies. I went as far as Kazakhstan, and it was a great place to be. I will maybe elaborate it a little bit later about the culture and yeah, the culture of communication, the culture of food there, and all in all, other things in culture of this place. But I would love to say that it is a welcoming place, which I like wouldn't know before until I visited it. So it opened my eyes on this, also like a fellow post-Soviet country, as we say. But
Mm.
yeah, I've never been familiar to Middle Asian culture and whatever not. So it was a great experience for me. And then I actually also went, well, you can also call it traveling, right? I've been in my master's program. I've been studying in Denmark, and not in Copenhagen, but in the northern Denmark, in the city called Aalborg. So it was also like a long-lasting travel, I could say. I spent like 9 months there, just because later on I didn't need to. I had an internship back home in Riga, so I didn't need to be in Denmark. And when I started my diploma work, the COVID started shortly. So yeah, we've been staying back home. And I know that you really don't talk about COVID in this podcast, so I'm sorry about this. But yeah,
Nice. It is worth just
just to
reminding that
mention
yeah,
it,
this
yeah,
this is happening. Yeah, but like
yeah,
we just don't want to beat the dead horse, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah, of course.
because you just keep hearing everywhere, you know, COVID this, COVID that. But you know, just sometimes just saying, oh yeah, you know, COVID, but you know, not talking much about it. But yeah,
Yeah, like this.
yeah, fair enough. Okay. So yeah, it just sounds like you have traveled to so many places. It's unbelievable. I knew that you are the traveling kind of guy, and but I did not realize how many places you have actually visited. Like comparing to like the places I went. Of course, you know the UK, Russia. Well, Russia. I mean, if you just say Russia, it's so vague because of how large the country is. But you know, Moscow, Saint Petersburg, Novgorod, Rostov, Abakan, um, which is like further down to like South Russia slash Siberia, and I also visited, you know, Italy, France, and Switzerland. But yeah, but like compared to you, it's just, you know, I'm just an amateur, you know, so it's crazy. But I mean, out of like all the places that you have traveled to, uh, what will be your most favorite place, and where would you like to travel again?
I would actually say that well, first and foremost, let me say, okay, let me state this clear. I now, as a person who also traveled actively throughout this year, I will just elaborate it a little bit later. Uh, I cherish every travel, and I think this is a key element of traveling itself, to actually go somewhere, even if it's not far enough, just with your mind open and to experience something, with your mind looking forward to learn something new. It is a travel. So I might be not talking about the like the neighboring city visit, right? So if you commute, for instance, every day from your city that you live to any other city, maybe it's not that much of a traveling itself, but even it can be a travel if you look at the city, for instance, in a different perspective, and you don't visit your like usual route, but you rather go somewhere, or you go by another way of transport, where you just visit another maybe institution, an attraction, or something else. But I would say, really, out of all places that I've been, I couldn't pick like the most favorite one, just because every place is so every place is like all the places are so different, and every place is special with something other. Like only this year I've been to Italy, Portugal, Austria, Poland. Where have I been as well? Well, have I been more? I think I went to Lithuania at some point. Maybe I didn't. I cannot remember. I've been to. Was I to Estonia this year? No, I don't think so. But the year before, 2020, we spent all in all pretty much in lockdown at home, so we didn't really get anywhere far. But the year before, like it's quite common for me to visit Estonia and Lithuania, and I've also been to Finland in 2019. So my third time my third time in Helsinki. So by this, I would return to every city pretty much. I have been to Estonia, but I've never seen, like, I've seen Tallinn only partly. I would love to see Tallinn, especially with the new projects they are building and with all the new infrastructure, all the new parks, all the new buildings, whatever not. And it could not be a long trip, but for to stay for a day in Tallinn or for like a day and a half in Tallinn, I think it could be a good thing. The same, we spoke with my colleague not so long ago that it's worth visiting Vilnius for the purpose of urban traveling. And this just proves that every city, maybe not, maybe not the every city if you consider even like small places as the cities, right, which have like one road and several houses. Then every city has its own signature things, signature style, signature history, maybe even some history, right? The bigger cities and stuff. So I cannot pick one specific place, but I would tell like the most fascinating city that I remember is still, I think, by this day, London. But I cannot say that I didn't enjoy Vienna, that I didn't enjoy Lisbon, that I didn't enjoy Warsaw, which was my very recent trip. I couldn't say that I didn't enjoy Stockholm or Copenhagen or Helsinki. All these cities are charming, and every city has special things to them that make them stand out. At the same time, I really love it in Kazakhstan. For instance, like the nature in Kazakhstan is beautiful, and Astana is a cool city itself because of the skyline and stuff. It's called Nur Sultan now by far, as far as I know. So, and Almaty is quite a nice city. They are just very different from the cities here in Europe. So it's a different thing, but nature in Kazakhstan, mountains, lakes, vast forests, steppes. I've been to steppes in Kazakhstan, and other things like food, like attitude of people, like traditional things. I've visited a family in Kazakhstan. It was a family of a fellow student. He gladly invited me to have dinner with them. So it's all about the specific signature of a place. I think as a traveler you cherish these things the most, and when you make sense of it, it's great to go anywhere in the world just to get to know some specific, like some new things for yourself. So I think this describes my position the best now.
Yeah, I agree. It actually makes more sense. And you've actually just answered so many questions that I was about to ask you, because I wanted to just kind of like double check your thoughts on like the comments that I made about traveling before, but you already did. It's, you have mentioned the kind of like cultural differences and the authenticity and just having a good time in general. And from what you've told me so far is just it's a very, very interesting journey that you had so far. Like so many places of so different cultures and so many of them. Yeah, it is incredible. And I just want to add, and probably just kind of like refresh the memory of some people. Like in the previous episode, when I mentioned that even though, like, you may live in a country where there's, like, multiculturalism, or like lots of cultures in different places, they may not be as authentic as, for example, where the culture itself actually came from, because people there, they have more experience, and they were chiseling these cultures and traditions to the unimaginable extent, and the fact that you can just travel to those countries and, like, experience the actual authentic culture there, it is truly incredible. Like, different people can do so many different things. It is crazy, certainly is. Yeah. But any other places that you want to visit in the future, like in the near future?
A lot of them actually. Yeah, I would love to go to Budapest in Hungary. I would love to visit Morocco. I think we discussed it with you before and with other fellow people. And I've discussed it
Yeah.
with some fellows back here in Latvia that Morocco is like a great destination. I would
Mm.
definitely go. Yeah, I would definitely go to France. I think because I haven't seen France, but I don't really like. I don't focus on the specific travel. I just want to. The best thing about traveling is that you get to experience many smaller things, not specifically about the culture, which is still like very right comment that you made, but even some like different aspects that you don't get to have at home. For instance, like high-speed trains in Germany, or urban ferries in Sweden, or in Amsterdam, or like riding a bicycle in Copenhagen, or yeah, also Stockholm, Amsterdam, and riding a Emirates, like this, how do you call it, the cable car in London, over the river,
Uh,
and yeah.
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. This
yeah.
the one that is, I think, near Greenwich or something like this. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's the
hmm
one. Hmm.
Yeah, and even like in Riga, here in Riga, we don't have an underground system, which is like a little pity, but it's a painful question, so I'll leave it alone right now. But it's yeah,
Yeah.
but it's great. I love coming to cities which have underground system, and from this year's trip to Lisbon and Warsaw, even like two different cities, two different approaches to metro system. In Lisbon, it's quite similar to Naples one, which we've been in
Mm.
September. But in Warsaw, it's closer to Warsaw's one. Still, every city has like a different style, different signature, and little different aspects of how they really approach this transportation thing. And
Mm.
yeah, and it's I've only mentioned transport just because it's always on my mind, just because I also work in this sphere, in planning and transportation. So, but other than that, and I'm also really interested in this. So, but other than that, everything like food, like maybe architecture, maybe like some activities in the city, maybe shopping, maybe like a seashore getaway or whatever not, is like so different in many cities, so unique, so special. So I think it's I would love to actually it sounds very vanilla, but I would love to go anywhere. I have some priorities, like as I've mentioned Morocco, as I've mentioned Hungary, as I've mentioned yeah, maybe France, and some further destinations as well, like Canada. But yeah, it's all an ambition, and I think with the right amount of will and wishes, I will get to achieve everything of this.
Yeah, traveling to another side of the planet is definitely something on my bucket list. Because like my parents, before I was even born, they actually lived temporarily in the state of Missouri, and they said that it was a completely different world compared to where they came from. And obviously, they came from Soviet Union, so it was a even a more extraordinary experience. So yeah, just going to the States would be something on my agenda. But like I don't know when I'm gonna do it. But when I'm gonna do it, hopefully I will cherish it as much as I can. So
Of course.
yeah, no. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing this experience with me and with everyone else. But I do want to delve a little bit deeper into a part of the culture that you have certainly experienced when traveling, and obviously you cannot travel on an empty stomach. So and obviously you have tried lots of foods, and you have also mentioned earlier that you have been eating healthier, which I'm really happy for you. I'm actually on the same path as well, as you may probably already know. And yeah, so it's like cooking is definitely something that has become a part of our lives at some point. Won't you agree?
Of course I do. Yeah, definitely.
Y- Yeah, and so yeah, to tell me about your like maybe recent experience with culinary, or maybe something that you have remembered like back in the day. So is there perhaps anything that you can share with us?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, in terms of cooking, it's mostly I'm not. I will tell straight away that I'm not like Gordon Ramsay or Jamie Oliver,
Oh yeah,
a
of
type
course,
of
yeah.
person. In terms of that, I don't need to sophisticate every meal. Maybe from time to time, if I want to cook something fancier or yeah, do something unusual, then I will try to go for eating out or cooking. Actually, trying to cook myself something like that's not really common. Other than that, for everyday perspective, it's best for me as I found it and as we do in our family, is that we really try to balance it out and not make the absolute same meal twice. So if we make a meal, for instance, I today I was cooking a inspired. I think I wouldn't call it like straight chicken curry, but I would call it an inspired chicken curry, just because I've added curry and some other curry containing spice to the meal, and it doesn't
Mm.
really taste like an authentic curry, but it has a hint here and there. It has a note of this curry taste, so I think it's a win for me. But other than that, it was always about simplicity for me. When I was living in Denmark for my master's studies, it was the days were like not the richer ones, so I had to keep it, keep the belt buckled a little tighter than usual. Well, I wouldn't really
Mm.
say so right now, but I could have been smarter definitely, and it could have been eating better instead of buying a lot of junk food back in the day. I was like a fan of chips and whatever not sodas. So if I would trade them for actually like if I would have like a better cooking skills at least, or at least as I have them now, back in that day I would have definitely spared some money and or at least spend it on a better food, so which I could make myself. But other than that, even back then, I was teaching myself to cook just because I realized that I cannot eat out on my budget. So I was doing a lot of things. I was different things. I started like from just frying meat or chopped meat, minced meat, right, with some rice. Of course, the rice boiled before, or some potatoes.
Mm.
I know how to make some traditional things, or some traditional simple things, of course, from back in the day, like mashed potatoes with yeah, the mashed potatoes, or how to boil rice, or how to boil buckwheat, or yeah, some things like that. Some very classic, some very simple soups, which really do not take any effort to boil, just your time, and you have to just be patient until every ingredient has its own time to be put in. So, but other than that, I became a fan of chicken with rice. Back
Mm.
then, I was trying to uh, make like as perfect as possible the simplest recipe when I marinated chicken in the yogurt sauce. with some onions and garlic, and I
Oh
remember
yeah.
adding some lemon juice, I think it was, or from time to time I was trying to mix it up. So one time I added soy sauce instead of yogurt and lemon juice, but other time I added some herbs, yogurt and lemon juice, so something like this. And I just,
Hmm.
yeah, either sliced it or cut it like in a smaller pieces because I didn't have a mincing device. I'm not sure how we properly call it, but yeah, I think everybody understands what it is.
Yeah, I
So
think it's just simply called mincer or something.
mincer,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
maybe mincer,
yeah, but
yeah.
I think people will understand what you're talking about. Certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then I made like rice and some like very simple salad on the side. And I think now it's not that I'm like cooking more complicated things, right? I definitely like cook more advanced recipes, even if when it comes for chicken. Like now I don't really spend a lot of time marinating the chicken. I just rather add spices, and then when I have it fried, I add the cooking cream or whatever, not to have like more of a how do you say, the meal that is put together, and that you can also like put on the rice to not make it dry, but rather to make it like a, yeah, a more warming unified meal, right? But other than
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I'm just cooking more consciously. So yeah, I will elaborate a little bit on it a little bit more afterwards.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, that sounded absolutely delicious, I gotta tell you. But good thing is that right before we have started recording this podcast, which, by the way, to those who are interested, by the time we're recording this right now, it's by British time, it's 17 past 7 on the 9th of December. So we're just recording this a bit earlier, just to make sure that I've got enough time to edit everything. But to Michael, it's currently 17 past 9 in the evening, so we have a bit of a time difference. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I've been working from home today, and right after I finished work, I have actually cooked something, and this is the new recipe that none of my listeners have actually heard of me talking about, and it's something that I want to cook for quite a while. The recipe is Thai basil chicken, right?
Nice. It
This
sounds nice. Yeah.
dish, yeah, this dish is so delicious, and if you are listening or watching this podcast on YouTube, I'm gonna show you the picture of it in 3, 2, 1, snap. There we go, and you can have a look at it and look at it. It's just so colorful. Someone actually said that it looks like restaurant quality, but I think they're just trying to compliment too much. But it did taste delicious, and it's simply a mix of chicken with some oyster sauce, soy sauce, some peppers and chilies, and obviously onions, and also some mixed vegetables and peas. And basically, the recipe is you just put one layer of stuff each 5 minutes, like once in every 5 minutes, and just make sure it's all stirred up so that everything is cooked evenly. And yeah, and then eventually you just get this dish. And I've cooked it again today, and I think I'm still feeling a bit of a burning sensation in my hands because I think I may have put too much chili. But it is an interesting feeling. But I can't wait to give it a try after we will finish our conversation tonight. But yeah, cooking, I've pretty much similar to you. I've started cooking more recently, and I've also have been a victim of eating too much junk food, and I just realized how expensive it actually is to eat junk food all the time. It's like, for example, in British standards, like one takeaway can cost you like anywhere between 10 to 20 pounds, and they also add like a lot of money for delivery charges and other fees, and you're just not feeling that satisfied with junk food. But when you are cooking something on your own, it's just No, it's not just the fact that it tastes better, but you also feel rewarded after actually cooking something on your own. And I just personally believe that cooking is better than ordering takeaway. Although I have to admit, I sometimes don't mind just going out and eat somewhere if I just don't feel like cooking a specific day. But I'm trying to do it with less and less frequency, and I'm doing alright with that one. So yeah, but that's pretty much my current position on cooking. And actually, as we speak, um, if you, ladies and gentlemen, remember, I've mentioned this website called mobkitchen.co.uk. They've just recently sent me another recipe, and Michael, you're gonna love this. This is going to be a chicken and pineapple curry.
Nice. I enjoy it already from the name of it.
I just love pineapple with meat. It's just, I think I've read like a random fact recently, excuse my language, that apparently pineapple gives like a really good, like tender kind of sensation to the meat when you're cooking meat with pineapples. And pineapple itself is an amazing fruit. It's probably my most favorite fruit of all time. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a try, and I will let you, Michael, and everyone else who is listening know how that recipe went, because I'm just looking at it like they showed the picture of it, and it just looks absolutely spectacular. So yeah, but the thing is that cooking can take quite a lot of time, especially like the more complex the recipe is. Obviously, the more time it will take. It can take you anywhere between maybe 20 minutes to maybe even a few hours, depending on what you're cooking. But I have a feeling, or rather, I have a suspicion that you, Michael, know some fast recipes. Or maybe so you can give us an advice about how to cook fast or something like that. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, of course. As I mentioned before, I will elaborate about the cooking itself. So, as you correctly mentioned, the cooking itself is a skill more than like just a knowledge. It's not only about knowing the recipe and knowing the ingredients that it consists of, but actually like understanding how the ingredients match and what flavor does each ingredient add and what consistency, not consistency, but yeah, the what each component adds or changes in the meal, or what it withdraws from the meal, right? So this pineapple curry recipe definitely sounds great, and I think I will also give it a try. It's just something interesting and unusual. But about the faster recipes, definitely especially when I was living in Denmark, it was closer to the end of my stay there. I was actually trying to also cook healthier, so I was frying chicken a lot, and as I didn't have like skill and understanding how to, yeah, what is a proper or enough level of friedness for a chicken. I was like frequently tending to over fry it, so it was like a little burnt, and the onions were a little burnt. So I fed up of it at one point, and I started to seeking another solution. So that's how I actually developed like a knowledge and skill for faster recipes. I actually replaced boiling rice with some alternative grain meals, and I would definitely advise on couscous. It's a fantastic thing that is, I think it's called in every language the same, and I don't know
Yes.
where it comes from, the name comes from, but I think it's something Arabic or maybe something like this. But it's a fast and easy, and the greater thing is about this is that it's modifiable with anything. The thing
Mm.
how you boil it, the whole thing of it is in the like process you prepare it is that you just have to take a cup of this grain, put it in the pot or whatever you can boil it, whatever you can put the warm water in, and then you boil some water separately, and you just apply like water to the couscous in proportion 1.5, from 125 to 1.5, comparing to the volume of couscous you have put in. and in that way you have it like in a good condition, so it's not overboiled, it's not so like rough to your teeth and to your mouth, but it's like in a needed consistency, and you can, when you pour some hot water over it, just before you can add some herbs, you can add some vegetables, you can add some tomatoes. Another good friend of mine is was doing couscous with, I think it was dried tomatoes in
All
oil, of
right.
course. The one you can buy them in the shop, right? In the cans.
Yeah.
So he was doing them with this and some tomato paste, I think. I was doing
Oh.
them with some corn and green peas and some herbs, I think. Most recently, I read the recipe. I took it from the site called the Big Man's Vault, I think, or just Big Man's Vault. I will ask Nick to put the link in the description as well.
Yep, of
It's
course.
a great place for low carb recipes, and I think you know it, right? I told you before.
Yes,
Maybe,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
So I kind of dig this website. I found a couple of good recipes there. I was cooking a longer one, which was a cauliflower mac and cheese, which turned out reasonably well. I just needed to replace another ingredient to make it like more, make it more thick in the consistency, not just it turned out a little bit like too uneven at one point, but yeah. But
Yeah,
it's how you get the experience. Other
yep.
than couscous, returning back to this, sorry, I'll just quickly finish with this.
No, of
Uh,
course, carry on.
you have a lot of alternative grains, right? There are things like bulgur, which is almost as easy, but it's not so easy. But I mean, it's nothing too complicated. It's much easier than rice. As if I didn't boil bulgur for quite a period of time, just because back here in Riga, I tend to eat more like buckwheat rice, potatoes. It's easier, it's cheaper than in Denmark to get everything of this, and buckwheat is especially the one ingredient that surprised me a lot that was hard to get in Denmark. It's just not in their culture to eat it.
Mm.
So I was bringing it from Latvia and enjoyed it from time to time, even if it sounds too weird because buckwheat is usually not really an enjoyable meal. But yeah, the thing is that bulgur is also really modifiable. You can boil it with vegetables. You can boil it with pasta, tomato paste. It is, or some ketchup, or some spices, and you also like put it in the pot, put some water over it. You boil it for like some minutes, and then it sucks up the water and is ready pretty much. And what I was doing with chicken, when I mentioned that I tried to get it more healthy, I actually looked at it. I stepped back one step, and I thought, what if I really put it not in the pan, not that I fried the chicken in the pan, but I put it in the oven with some olive oil and some vegetables and some spices to make it like still rich in terms of flavor, but just healthy. And many recipes advise that I should fry it for like a minute on each side, or minute and a half, just to have a little crust to it.
Mm.
I don't remember if I tried it. I think I tried it once or twice, but I was more of a fan just of taking a half of chicken breast, so like one fillet, one whole piece of fillet, pouring some olive oil over it, some pepper and salt, maybe some chicken spice if I had some, and putting in some special vegetables that are made for baking, and like they're just pretty much cut in small slices, and some peppers and some carrots, I think. Wasn't something like this.
Mm.
They were just selling frozen version of them in Denmark. So yeah, I was putting them together with chicken and wrapping it up in foil, putting in the oven for like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like around 20 minutes that I needed to cook this. Around this time, maybe even faster, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20, 25. on 200 Celsius or 220 Celsius, which is like every oven is capable of it. And I was receiving a whole chicken breast, well cooked, no pink spots, no salmonella, gladly whatsoever. And
Oh, that's good.
I was just cutting it up or pulling it with a fork and mixing it up with some couscous or bulgur, in turn depends on what I had cooked. And then I just was, I ate this for dinner. I took it with me for lunch at the uni. So yeah, it was a go-to meal, which took like 20 minutes to make and served two well portions.
Yeah, that sounds pretty impressive. Like, not only you saved time, but you also cooked enough for, like, several portions, so you didn't need to bother about cooking for at least a while. Yeah,
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 yeah.
that sounds excellent. Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. And would you look at the time? We have been spending the time together and we have been enjoying it for over an hour now. This is really unusual for me because usually I would just be recording a podcast for maybe half an hour or so, but this has been an incredible time. And yeah, I think we've got lots of things covered tonight. And I think I'm not sure about you, Michael, but I certainly have enjoyed this time that we have spent together.
It was amazing, yeah, and I would, I want to highly thank you for inviting me once again for this episode and having me here. And I am glad to have spoken to you, as we always do. Just we don't record it as much, and we
Of
usually
course, yeah.
communicate in other language. But yeah, but it was a great experience, and I loved sharing my thoughts on several things. I definitely think that we spoke, that we covered a lot of great topics. And if it's the matter of my pronunciation or my accent, I'm highly asking for your pardon. I'm not a native speaker. It's
Of
just
course,
happens that
neither am I, yeah.
yeah, that just happens that I get carried more about the sense of what I'm saying, neither that of my pronunciation. But I hope that I made it clear, and then I hope that it had it like well. So
Yeah, well, from my perspective, you've been speaking very fluently, very clearly, and I hope that everyone else thinks the same. But no, if anyone is listening, please let us know. Give us a feedback. Any feedback will be valuable. But honestly, Michael, I had no issues, and like I didn't have any moments when I just didn't understand what you were saying. So I do think that you've done a great job, and well, just uh, being a guest for this special episode is really a pleasure. And before we depart for tonight, have you got any last final positive words to share with people?
I would say so. Yeah, I would advise everybody to keep it up, do their best in the things that they want to achieve the most. So and doing their best, I mean by taking simple steps when it's the hardest, and proceeding with advanced steps when it's getting easier, if it gets easier all the time. But like it's the matter, I think, of just believing in yourself, and being conscious of yourself, of how you're feeling yourself. So it's not always you need to rush yourself into harder conditions if something is not getting on if you're not getting on well with something. Just sometimes you can take a little break, take a step back, look at everything that's happening in your life all over again, and just smile, and maybe start from, even not if not a new page, but like a new paragraph, a new sentence, and have the story going on.
Yep. I I cannot add anything else to that. I think that sounded great. Well, on that note, Michael, once again, thank you so much for spending time with me tonight. Thank you for participating in this special episode. And as I've said in the beginning, it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to invite you, and the 10th episode has been a great
opportunity to do so. So thank you, Michael. It really means a lot to me.
Cheers. It was a great pleasure.
And for all of you, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave this to the future version of Nicholas Malson to finish this episode. But for now, I wish you all a good night and be well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back to the present day, which is Sunday, the 12th of December 2021. So I wanted to just share a couple of final points. Firstly, I unfortunately had to change the format of the audio file, and the quality may have been changed a little bit, hopefully not much. But if you have noticed it, I do apologize about that, because the original file size was way too large, and it was not possible to distribute it through the usual sources that I usually use. So secondly, when I was talking about my story from the past, there were certain solutions to this that I could have used, but at that time I had a completely different mindset, and I didn't. But what has happened, and I hope that my story will help at least someone to avoid making the same mistakes I did. And lastly, unfortunately, there is one link that I have not been able to post in description box, but hopefully when I get an access to that link, I will share it with everyone, so you can all have a look at it and just enjoy watching and reading and listening to it. So once again, I would like to thank everyone for your support. I hope you have all enjoyed this episode. I hope it was worth listening, and it was worth your time. As I've said before, if you want to leave any comments or communicate with me, you can do so on YouTube. Leave a comment to have a chance for that comment to be read out in the next episode, or send me an email if you want a more anonymous conversation. My email is smileonceagainpodcast@gmail.com. That's smileonceagainpodcast@gmail.com. I'll say this once again, what I say at the end of each episode. Life may be cruel and unjust, but at least we can enjoy sunsets. Thank you so much for being a part of all this. I'm Nicholas Malson. This has been Smile Once Again podcast, and have a great week. I hope to speak to you in next week. Goodbye.